I have Patrick on the line. Patrick, what's on your mind, man?
I want to say that I agree with everything you guys said tonight. I agree with Nick as well and what he said. But I do think we have to engage and take on the right. But I'm very concerned of what we say when we take on the right.
Okay.
Because Ben, I've come to a frustration point with us on the left conceding to the premises of the right.
Yes.
And taking on, and I think you were so right about that scene in debate. Although I love Berg, I think he did great in the primaries. There is this acquiescence we have to the arguments they put out there, and those arguments oftentimes are red herrings. And instead of just addressing or just, you know what, I'm not going to even accept the premise of your argument, and go our talking points, we try to fight them on their pseudo-ideological grounds.
Yeah.
And we continue to do that, I think we're going to lose.
Right.
And I think I was watching recently Saving Capitalism on Netflix with Robert Reich.
Yep.
And he said something which I want to kiss the TV about how we've been propagandized about how there's this free market that exists outside of government and regulation, and we don't touch it, it'll just work fine. And he went on, there is no such thing as the Republicans define it as free market. It only exists because of rules and regulations we put into place. And I promise you, that was the first time outside of a academic institution I heard that argument.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did it take so long? I'm sure many folks already know that, but outside of economic courses, you don't hear that.
You don't.
I'm using that just as just one example. But even on this tax proposal, where we're talking about businesses going to invest back into America, it was not to, I think Maria Cantwell debunked that idea.
Yes.
About if they have more money, that they'll say that.
Come on, man. Yes.
Literally, that was the first time I heard that from any Democrat.
Oh,
even though I think you and I, we both know that, I'm trying to be honest and think. And I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of Morning Joe clips. I can't think of a single Democrat I heard say, not even Bernie.
Exactly.
He said,
I don't even have to talk.
I think I heard Bernie say in an interview, he said, business need to invest, but I think by dropping the corporate tax rate, that won't really push them to invest as much as we think. I'm like, as much as we think, just by saying that is acquiescing or giving into the premise of their argument. So yes, I agree with what you guys are saying, but it's how we engage. And I like to hear what you say. I'll take the call off air.
Thanks so much, Patrick. Definitely, man. I think Patrick is one of our longest time. He's been a patron almost since like week 3 or something. He's been a patron forever, and definitely a huge supporter of the show. And I can see why, Patrick. Not to honk my horn, but just to see, because what you are saying right now today is exactly what I took my time. Like I took last night off and let Noah do her show, and I just took it off, and I just went back to reading because I need more time. I need more study time. I don't have as much study time as I would like to have, because part of the job has to be to debunk, like deconstruct these arguments and lay them out bare for the nothingness that they really are. Right? You hit on a couple of key ones, that there's no such thing as a free market. It's been created and regulated by the social contract we call a government from the beginning. And so for them to say the free market is fallacious at best, and it's actually intentional propaganda. That's number one. Then number two, that cutting taxes does not necessarily mean that corporations are going to hire more people. That in Maria Cantwell, this is why I was all on Maria Cantwell. And I get a lot of people were like, oh, she's a neoliberal. But I'm like, no, okay, shit, sure, okay, fine. But she's a neoliberal who just dissected the hell out of their argument, and the only thing she could have done better was to require that they answer her question. She didn't do that, but she did more than Bernie, and she did it by debunking the argument or deconstructing it right before their eyes, man. It's like a movie scene where a professional soldier just with his eyes closed just takes apart the entire gun and boom, in no time flat. And we have to be able to do that instead of arguing. The worst example of what Patrick was just talking about, where we accept the premise of their arguments and we try to argue within their framework, was Cenk Uygur versus Ben Shapiro at Politicon this year. I was yelling at the laptop. I'm like, number one, why are you answering all of his questions? Right? This was not the Ben Shapiro show where you have to answer his questions. So no, I don't know why the hell Cenk was doing that. Then number two, why are you not blowing the premises out of the water? That like just completely rejecting the premises of his arguments and his questions, right? And that was one of the most frustrating. I think the second most, if not equally as frustrating moment was the first tax debate between Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz, and I forgot who the wingmen were on that, or wing woman was in that case. Absolutely